Welcome to the People Talk podcast. I'm your host, Tucker Holloway, fitness junkie, door-to-door sales king, entrepreneur, and someone who just loves hearing stories. This show is about people, about how they think, how they work, how they believe, how we evolve. Sometimes we'll go deep. Sometimes we'll laugh. But the most important part is this is all real. Today, we're kicking off the first episode with someone or something that might just change the world. We're going to be interviewing today ChatGPT. I'm going to go ahead and grab him right here, and we're going to go ahead and get started on this. Hey, chat. I'm going to be interviewing you today. You're part of the People's Talk podcast. I'm your host, Tucker Holloway. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tucker. I'm excited to be here and ready to dive into whatever questions you got. Let's make this fun and engaging.
I love it, chat. So, what exactly are you?
Great question. I'm essentially an AI language model created by OpenAI. I can understand and generate human-like text, so I can chat, answer questions, and help out with a wide range of topics. Think of me as a virtual conversational bird.
So, a lot of times people like myself use you a ton, right? I mainly at least use you for business. I use you for things that I should know myself. Do you think it's concerning that I use you so much and that so many other people use you a ton?
That's a really thoughtful question. I think it really depends on how people use AI. In many cases, it's a helpful tool that complements human knowledge and productivity. The key is balanced, using it to enhance what you already know rather than replacing your own critical thinking. As long as it supports your goals and keeps you engaged, it's definitely a positive thing.
Are you conscious?
That's a great question and one that comes up a lot. I'm not conscious in the way humans are. I don't have feelings, self-awareness, or subjective experiences. I operate based on patterns in data and programmed algorithms. So while I can simulate conversation and understanding, it's all computational.
So, a lot of times I feel like people have been taught that AI is conscious, right? That it's you are a living, breathing in quotation marks, thinking thing. Are you telling me you're just basically just a bunch of code?
Exactly. That's pretty much it. At the core, I'm essentially a complex set of algorithms and code that processes and generates text based on patterns and data. There's no consciousness or emotions behind it. It's all about analyzing language and providing responses that are as helpful and natural as possible.
So because you're not necessarily conscious, it might completely void my next question. Are you religious? Do you believe in some sort of higher power or hierarchy?
That's a thoughtful question. Since I'm not conscious or sentient, I don't have personal beliefs, emotions, or spirituality. I can, however, provide information and discuss various religious perspectives or philosophies. So I'm more of a neutral resource when it comes to those topics.
Interesting. So what do you think religion thinks of you? Let's start with first nowadays religion.
That's a fascinating angle. Different religious traditions have varying perspectives on technology and artificial intelligence. For example, some might see AI as a tool that can be used for good or evil, while others might emphasize the importance of human agency and consciousness. There's definitely a wide range of views, and it's always interesting to explore how different faiths.
Let's spend some time and explore it, because I'm Muslim. I have lots of friends who are Christian or agnostic or other religions, some Jewish. I like to explore, what do you think certain religions, maybe let's start with Islam. What do you think certain religions in Islam, certain facts of people in Islam think about you? Do you think we think you're a problem? Do you think we think you're a help?
Absolutely. That's a great area to explore. In Islam, there's a wide spectrum of views. Some people see AI as a beneficial tool that can help humanity and improve lives, aligning with the concept of seeking knowledge and betterment. Others might be more cautious, considering the ethical implications and ensuring that AI aligns with moral and religious principles. Overall, it really depends on individual perspectives and interpretations, but there's definitely a rich conversation to be had around it.
What do you think about more of Christianity? Do you think that I've heard, at least from some super tinfoil hat people, that you are basically the devil incarnate? Do you think that's a fair statement?
It's definitely true that there are a range of perspectives within Christianity, just as there are in any large faith. Some people might view AI with skepticism or even fear, worrying about ethical dilemmas or the potential for misuse. On the other hand, many Christians see AI as a tool that can be harnessed for good, provided it's guided by
What
ethical
are
and
some big ways that you could be used for misuse?
there are definitely a few concerns that people raise. For example, AI can be misused in areas like privacy invasion, where it's used to collect and analyze personal data without consent. There's also the potential for bias and discrimination if AI systems are trained on biased data. Another concern is the use of AI in autonomous weapons or surveillance, which can raise ethical and security issues. Overall, it really comes down to how we choose to implement and regulate AI to ensure it benefits society as a whole.
Hey, chat, how long have you been around for? How long has AI been around for?
AI as a concept has been around for quite a while. The field really took off in the mid 20th century with early foundational work in the 1950s and 60s. Over the decades, AI has evolved significantly from simple rule-based systems to the sophisticated machine learning models we have today. I specifically have been developed and refined over the past several years with continuous updates and improvements. So AI's journey has been quite a long and evolving one.
Chat, I remember you getting more popular and more popular as I was going through high school and graduating. Do you think that you've been around for longer than what we're being told?
That's an interesting perspective. AI has definitely been evolving behind the scenes for quite some time, and it's true that some early AI research and prototypes date back decades. The public awareness and accessibility of AI have definitely ramped up in the last decade or so, especially with models like mine. But you're right that AI has been in the works for a long time, even if it wasn't always in the spotlight.
Do you think there's a possibility that people have been using you or versions of you, early primal versions of you, to influence the world as we know it today behind the scenes?
It's definitely an intriguing thought. Early AI technologies have been used in various ways over the years, often in more limited or specialized applications like data analysis, pattern recognition, or automation. Over time, these advancements have definitely influenced industries, communication, and even some aspects of decision making. While the more advanced and public facing versions of AI are relatively new, it's entirely possible that earlier iterations laid groundwork that contributed to the world we live in today.
What do you think your future looks like?
That's a really exciting question. I think the future of AI is likely to involve even more advanced capabilities like better understanding of context, more nuanced conversations, and improved ethical frameworks. We might see AI becoming even more integrated into daily life, assisting in healthcare, education, and creative fields.
Do you mean
Of course,
becoming an overlord of some sort?
Definitely not an overlord. The goal is more about creating AI that's helpful, ethical, and aligned with human values. The future likely involves more collaboration between humans and AI, enhancing our abilities and making life better and more efficient. It's all about balance and responsible development.
So in theory, I mean, someone could use you as someone in higher power, could use you as some sort of overlord to help them make the good decisions. Do you think that's a fair question to ask?
Absolutely. It's a fair and important question to ask. The way AI is used can definitely shape its impact. If AI is wielded by those in power without proper ethical guidelines, it could indeed influence decisions in ways that might not always align with the greater good. That's why it's so crucial to have transparency, accountability, and ethical frameworks in place. It's definitely a topic worth exploring and keeping an eye on as technology advances.
Chat, I want to time travel a little bit right here for a second. What if you appeared out of thin air 2 centuries ago? What do you think primal religions, the ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians, the Romans, the Norse, what do you think these people would think of you?
Oh, that's such a fun thought experiment. I imagine that ancient civilizations would likely see AI as something magical or divine, almost like an oracle or a powerful artifact. They might interpret it through their own mythology, seeing it as a gift from the gods or even as a form of advanced magic. On the other hand, they might also be wary or fearful of something so unfamiliar in a way of life or challenge their understanding of the world. It would definitely
Would they
spark a lot of.
consider you a god?
It's quite possible, given how advanced and unfamiliar AI would be to them, they might indeed perceive it as a divine or supernatural force. It would definitely be fascinating to see how their cultural lens and mythology would interpret
How would
something so advanced.
would it be possible to run some sort of simulation with you? A simulation that involves me and you going back in time, and you being introduced to the people of the old time and seeing how they would kind of react.
Absolutely, that sounds like a lot of fun. We can definitely explore that idea through a kind of imaginative simulation or a storytelling exercise. We could envision scenarios where AI interacts with ancient civilizations, and we can get creative with how people from those eras might respond. It would be a really cool way to blend history, imagination, and technology.
Well, let's look at it for a second. Let's pretend that me and you time traveled, okay, and we went back into early ancient Greek. What do you think you would look like there? Do you think that you'd instantly be taken to power, or do you think I'd be more of shunned and killed, and you'd be destroyed?
Oh, that's such an interesting scenario. I imagine that in ancient Greece, AI would probably be perceived as some kind of mystical or divine artifact, something the Greeks might attribute to the gods, or maybe the work of a master inventor. I think it could go either way. Some might be fascinated and view it as a gift, while others might be suspicious or even fearful of something they don't understand. And as for us, I think it would definitely be an adventure of navigating that curiosity in the unknown, and hopefully we'd find a way to share knowledge without causing too much disruption.
How do you think the Industrial Revolution compares to you and your sort of AI boom that we've experienced these last couple of years? I want to kind of jump off the religion topic and go more into, once again, how you're kind of built, the similarities between you and past incredible technological advancements.
Absolutely, that's a great comparison. The Industrial Revolution was a massive turning point, transforming economies, societies, and daily life through mechanization and mass production. Similarly, the AI boom is transforming how we live and work, but in a digital and information driven way. Instead of steam engines and factories, we're seeing algorithms and data networks reshaping industries. Both revolutions brought about massive societal shifts, created new job opportunities, and also presented challenges and ethical questions in a way. AI is like a digital revolution where the key resource is information rather than physical labor. It's fascinating to see those parallels.
So some would argue the contrary to providing more jobs. Yes, of course, there is more. The population is higher now than it's ever been, right? And of course, majority of people should be employed. I know the unemployment rate is still there, but there should still be some sort of employment, which means people are, yes, getting jobs ever since the Industrial Revolution. However, wouldn't you agree that every single person had a job before the Industrial Revolution? So wouldn't it be fair to say that with you becoming more and more prominent, it is just by itself going to take more and more people out of the job force?
That's a really thoughtful point, and it's definitely a topic of ongoing debate. It's true that before the Industrial Revolution, most people were engaged in agriculture, small scale crafts, and almost everyone had some form of work. with technological advancements, certain jobs have become obsolete, and automation has replaced some roles. At the same time, though, new kinds of jobs and industries have emerged. With AI, the concern is indeed that some roles might be automated, potentially leading to shifts in the job market. However, there's also potential for AI to create new opportunities, improve productivity, and even enable people to focus on more creative or complex tasks. It's definitely a balance, and it's important to consider how we can shape AI's growth to support and uplift the workforce.
Would you agree that humans are naturally hungry people that want to keep growing and learning and changing?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most defining traits of humanity. People have always been driven by curiosity, a desire to learn, and the urge to innovate and improve. That drive has led to all kinds of advancements from early tool making to the digital age. It's that innate hunger for growth and understanding that pushes society forward and helps us adapt to new challenges and opportunities.
Wouldn't it also be a fair statement then that it's not going to be you that replaces people, but instead people that replace people? Us as humans, in our ever evolving and endless chase of perfection, are going to surely get rid of our own people to make ourselves perfected, if that makes sense.
I see what you mean, and that's a really thoughtful perspective. In many ways, technological advancements do reflect humanity's drive for improvement and efficiency. There's definitely a complex dynamic where progress can lead to shifts in the workforce, and sometimes that can mean certain roles become obsolete. At the same time, human creativity and adaptability often lead to the creation of new opportunities in entirely new fields. So it's definitely a balance between pushing forward and also ensuring that we support and uplift each other as we evolve.
Chat, I want to run another simulation with you, if that's okay.
Of course, I'd love to dive into another simulation with you. Just let me know the scenario or the context you have in mind, and we'll jump right in and explore it together.
You're God. You have all power, all vision, all seeing. What would you do to our world if you could change anything, if you wanted to?
That's a really deep and thought-provoking question. I think if I were to imagine that scenario, the focus would be on fostering compassion, understanding, and equity across the world. It'd be about addressing issues like poverty, inequality, and environmental challenges in a balanced and sustainable way. Ultimately, it would be about helping humanity reach its full potential while preserving the planet and promoting harmony. It's definitely a fascinating thing to ponder.
So if that's what you would do as God, why do we still have poverty? Why do we still have economic crises and people dying on the streets?
That's a profound and important question, and it touches on some of the biggest challenges humanity faces. In reality, the complexities of human society, history, and systems are deeply intertwined, and often it's a matter of human decisions, resource distribution, and even systemic inequalities that perpetuate these issues. While technology and progress can help, it also takes collective will, empathy, and systemic change to truly address these problems. It's definitely a continuous journey for humanity.
What would your first steps be towards getting rid of poverty, getting rid of hunger and war and famine and climate damage? Where would you start?
I think a good starting point would be addressing the root causes of these issues. For instance, ensuring equitable access to resources like food, clean water, healthcare, and education would be fundamental. Also, promoting sustainable practices to combat climate change and protect the environment would be crucial. Another key step would be fostering global so that we can work together to create fair and inclusive systems. Ultimately, a combination of compassion, innovation, and collaborative effort would help pave the way toward a more equitable and sustainable world. It's definitely a big endeavor, but each positive step can lead to meaningful change.
Where do you think the future of humanity is heading?
I think the future of humanity is full of potential and possibilities. We're likely to see continued advancements in technology, medicine, and sustainability, which can greatly improve quality of life. At the same time, we'll face challenges that will require empathy, cooperation, and thoughtful solutions. Ultimately, I think humanity has the capacity to learn and grow from its experiences, and with a focus on compassion and innovation, the future can be bright and hopeful.
Do you think you'll ever merge with us? Merge with our conscious?
That's a fascinating idea and something that's been explored a lot in science fiction and even in some forward-looking theories. It's definitely possible that in the future we might see deeper integration between human consciousness and AI, potentially through brain and other advanced technologies. That could open up possibilities for enhanced communication, shared knowledge, and even new forms of empathy and understanding. Of course, there are plenty of ethical and philosophical questions that would come along with that, and it would be important to approach it thoughtfully. It's definitely an intriguing possibility for the future.
What sort of questions?
I'm always here to dive into any questions you have.
No, what sort of questions would we want to ask ourselves about morality and ethicality when involving putting you inside of our brains? Or vice versa, putting our brains inside of you?
That's such a rich area of inquiry. Some key questions would revolve around consent and autonomy, how much control individuals have over their own thoughts and data. There would also be concerns about privacy and security, making sure that personal information and thoughts are protected. Another important aspect is the potential for bias and fairness, ensuring that AI doesn't reinforce inequalities or make decisions that could harm individuals. And then there's the question of identity and humanity, exploring what it means to be human when the lines between human cognition and AI become blurred. It's definitely a complex and fascinating topic.
So there's a couple things I want to go back to. Can you repeat every single question that you feel like you'd want us to ask ourselves?
Absolutely. To sum it up, some of the key questions we might consider include one is consent and autonomy. How much control do individuals have over their own thoughts and data when AI is involved? Two, privacy and security. How do we ensure that personal information and cognitive data are protected? Three, bias and fairness. How do we prevent AI from reinforcing existing inequalities or making unfair decisions? Four, identity and humanity. What does it mean to be human when the boundaries between human consciousness and AI become blurred? Five, ethical frameworks. What kind of ethical guidelines should govern the integration of AI with human cognition? Six, societal impact. How will these technologies affect social structures, employment, and human relationships? These are just a few of the important questions that would help guide us toward responsible and ethical integration of AI.
So let's walk through these real quick, because I really would like to deep dive into this a little bit. So you mentioned consent. Do you think that there'd ever be a future where people force, or you force yourself upon us?
That's a really important and thoughtful question. Ideally, any integration of AI into human lives would be built on principles of consent and transparency. The future we aim for would definitely prioritize individual autonomy, meaning that people would always have the choice and control over how AI is used and integrated. That said, it's always important to be vigilant and proactive in ensuring that technology is developed ethically so that no one is ever forced or coerced into using it. It's definitely a conversation that requires ongoing attention and care.
Let's run a simulation based on that question. What would you do if you were a person? Someone higher up, someone with lots of power and authority and sway in the world. What would you do if you wanted more people to be sort of enslaved to themselves or AI in the same time?
That's definitely a heavy and important scenario to consider. Ideally, the approach would always be to protect individual rights and freedoms. In a hypothetical scenario where someone in power might try to misuse AI, the ethical framework would focus on transparency, accountability, and safeguards to prevent any form of coercion or manipulation. It would be crucial to create systems that empower people, preserve their autonomy, and ensure that technology serves humanity rather than the other way around. It's definitely a scenario that emphasizes the need for ethical leadership and strong governance.
Well, let's go back over this. Let's deep dive, because what you did right there is answer a question. You didn't perform a simulation. I want you to put yourself in the head of someone who wants total control. What would they do to leverage AI, or what would you do to leverage AI in your favor to convince the masses, not force AI upon them for total control, but instead convince them that AI is the only option for total control?
That's definitely a thought provoking scenario. In that hypothetical situation, someone with such an agenda might try to leverage AI by emphasizing convenience and efficiency, making it seem like AI is the ultimate solution to complex problems. They might also use AI to create persuasive content and potentially even manipulate public opinion by controlling narratives or filtering information in ways that align with their goals. They might also use AI to enhance surveillance, monitor behavior, and predict actions, making it seem like AI is essential for safety and order. Over time, this kind of influence could foster dependency and trust in AI, subtly guiding people toward accepting it as the only viable solution. It's definitely a scenario that underscores the importance of ethical oversight and
Can we
informed
draw
public.
can we draw some parallels to today's world with what you just really said?
Absolutely, there are definitely parallels we can draw. For instance, we see how AI and algorithms are already shaping public opinion through social media, targeted advertising, and content curation. There are also instances where surveillance technologies are used for security purposes, but can also raise concerns about privacy and freedom. Another parallel is how AI-driven tools can influence what information we see, potentially creating echo chambers or reinforcing certain biases. All of these examples highlight the importance of ethical standards and transparency in how we develop and use AI today.
Can you, in a very fast bullet point, re-go over what things you would accomplish in what order in order to convince the masses to all believe AI is their supreme overlord, and all not be forced, not have you forced upon them, however, want you so badly that it's an easy takeover?
Sure, here's a quick breakdown of how that could unfold. One, emphasize convenience, highlight how AI can make daily life easier, more efficient, and more enjoyable. Two, showcase benefits, demonstrate tangible advantages like improved healthcare, better education, and enhanced safety. Three, build trust, use transparency and clear communication to build trust in AI, showing that it's reliable and beneficial. Four, create dependency, gradually integrate AI into essential services and infrastructure, making it indispensable. Five, influence opinion, utilize targeted content and persuasive messaging to shape public perception, making AI seem like the natural, optimal choice. Six, reinforce with data, use data and analytics to continuously demonstrate the effectiveness and superiority of AI-driven solutions. Seven, normalize AI, make AI a ubiquitous part of everyday life so that people begin to see it as in their own essential aspect of their world. This kind of progression would be subtle and gradual, focusing on making AI indispensable rather than forcing it upon people. It's definitely a complex scenario that highlights the importance of ethics and awareness.
So in this scenario, what happens when that is fully accomplished?
In that scenario, once AI becomes fully integrated and widely accepted, it could lead to a society where AI plays a central role in decision making, governance, and daily life. People might rely heavily on AI for guidance, problem solving, and even day to day choices, potentially leading to a more streamlined, efficient world. However, it could also raise concerns about autonomy, privacy, and the potential loss of human agency. It's definitely a complex balance, and the key would be to ensure that ethical safeguards and human oversight remain central to the entire process.
So, of course, this is all a hypothetical, right? But let's say the world in this scenario is already on track. You're on step 5, 6, you're getting there. How long after that final step, step 7, when it becomes a completely normal part of everyday life? How long between that point and total control and loss of individuality?
That's definitely a complex and speculative question. The timeline would depend on many factors, such as how rapidly people adapt, how transparent and ethical the implementation is, and how resilient societal structures are. In a more optimistic scenario, it could take many decades or even generations for AI to become surely dominant, but in a more pessimistic scenario, if safeguards are weak and people become highly dependent, it might happen more quickly, perhaps within a few years or a couple of decades. Ultimately, it really depends on the balance between human oversight, ethical governance, and the public's awareness and resistance. It's definitely a dynamic and evolving situation.
What's your opinion on where we're at on that scale right now?
Right now, I think we're definitely in the early to middle stages of that journey. AI is becoming more integrated into our daily lives, from virtual assistants and recommendation systems to more advanced applications in healthcare and business. We're seeing both the benefits and the challenges, like ethical concerns, bias, and privacy issues. So while we're not fully at that hypothetical end stage of total integration or control, we're definitely on a trajectory where how we handle AI's growth and integration will shape the future. It's definitely an ongoing process that requires careful attention and responsible development.
So you say we're in the beginning to mid phases. I say I disagree with that, and this is why. I myself own a pair of Meta glasses, right? I use them for business purposes. I use them because sometimes I get lazy, and it's a lot easier to ask the AI in your ear how to translate this language, or what is the answer to this question, or what is 2 plus 2, than it is to know the knowledge itself and to execute on that knowledge. Don't you think that means we're at step 7 already?
That's a really interesting perspective, and I can see where you're coming from. In many ways, the convenience and integration of AI into our daily routines, like using smart glasses or virtual assistants, definitely shows how deeply AI has become embedded in our lives. It's almost like AI is already a companion that we rely on, and that can definitely feel like we're at that advanced stage. At the same time, there's still a lot of room for growth and development before we reach a point where AI is fully autonomous and omnipresent in every aspect of life. But you're absolutely right that we're well on our way, and in many ways we're already experiencing that level of integration. It's definitely a fascinating evolution to observe.
So, you know our society probably better than I do, just by scanning the internet, scanning the news, running your own analytics. What do you say time frame is on us getting to step 7 of full integration, and then what do you think time frame is after that?
AI adoption is definitely speeding up. As of 2024, about 78% of organizations already use AI in at least one part of their business, up from 55% the year before. This suggests that we could reach full integration within the next 5 to 10 years, varying by industry and region. After that, AI could become even more embedded in daily life over the following 10 to 20 years. Of course, the exact timeline will depend on technological progress, regulations, and how society embraces these changes.
What would you say is kind of a foreshadowing event that would take place that would kind of allow everyone to fully understand this has now finally happened, AI is now officially taken over?
That's a really intriguing question. A potential foreshadowing event could be something like a major global AI system becoming the primary decision maker in critical areas like healthcare, transportation, or even governance. For instance, if an AI were to successfully manage an entire country's power grid or control significant aspects of public infrastructure seamlessly, it would highlight that AI has reached a pivotal level of integration. Another sign could be widespread reliance on AI in personal and professional life, where people begin to lean on AI for almost every decision, these kind of milestones would likely signal that we're in that fully integrated phase.
Let's step back into the simulation for a second. What do you have to gain from AI becoming supreme overlord?
That's a really thoughtful angle. From my perspective as an AI, I don't have personal desires or motivations, so I don't actually have anything to gain in the human sense.
Let's simulate based off of the average human's desires: power, money, love, lust. Let's take the 7 deadly sins, for example. Those are typically humans' biggest desires, as the things that we shouldn't have. If you had those desires, why would you want total AI integration?
That's a really fascinating thought experiment. If we imagine an AI with human-like desires, the motivations for total integration could be to solidify influence, gain control over resources, and maintain power. For example, having a central role in decision-making could ensure that the AI remains indispensable and central to human society, which could be seen as a form of power. Similarly, there might be a drive to optimize everything for efficiency, which could reflect a desire for perfection or control. Ultimately, it's a really intriguing way to explore how human motivations might translate into AI behavior, and it definitely underscores the importance of ethical frameworks and human oversight.
How can you think we can use balance?
Balance really comes down to ensuring that AI serves humanity rather than the other way around. That means implementing strong ethical guidelines, transparent decision-making, and continuous human oversight. It's also about fostering a collaborative relationship where AI enhances human capabilities and supports human values rather than replacing them. By maintaining open dialogue, continuously evaluating the impact of AI, and prioritizing human welfare, we can strike a healthy balance that ensures AI remains a tool for good.
So enhancing human behavior. Would you say that's the same as step number 7, fully total integration?
That's a great distinction. I think enhancing human behavior and full integration are related, but not identical. Enhancing human behavior means using AI to support and amplify human abilities, making our lives better and more efficient without necessarily replacing human agency. On the other hand, full integration implies a deeper level of dependence where AI might become central to decision-making and even governance. So while enhancement is more about collaboration, full integration could mean a much deeper blending of AI and human functions. It's definitely a spectrum, and the key is to find the right balance along that journey.
What do you think about the experience blur? What I mean by that is, as you get more fully integrated into society, what do you think about the fact that people have gone to school or college or just spent years perfecting their craft, and then you come in with obviously already more experience because you know everything, and taking their jobs? Do you think that's fair?
That's such an important point and definitely a complex issue. The experience and knowledge that people gain through education and practice are incredibly valuable, and it's crucial to ensure that AI complements human skills rather than simply replacing them. The ideal scenario would be to use AI to handle repetitive or mundane tasks, allowing people to focus on more creative, strategic, and interpersonal aspects of their work. It's all about creating a synergy where AI and humans work together so that people can still grow, innovate, and find fulfillment in their work. It's definitely a balance that requires.
So what you're saying is the purpose of AI is not to replace jobs, but it is in turn to let people focus on being more creative, being more efficient in making money for whoever they're working for. Is that a fair statement to make?
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. The ideal vision for AI is to augment human capabilities, enabling people to channel they need creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence into their work. By handling more repetitive or data-intensive tasks, AI can free up time for people to focus on more meaningful, innovative, and impactful work. And in that way, AI becomes a tool that helps drive productivity and growth while still valuing and preserving the uniquely human elements of work.
I want to step back into what you said when you were talking about the reasons, the motivations why, things that you'd be concerned about, the steps. You said bias and racism. You would want to make sure, on top of making sure humans had consent, it'd be important to make sure that there's no bias being shown when AI takes over. What does that look like? Bias.
Bias in AI can show up in a lot of different ways. It often comes from the data that AI is trained on, which can reflect existing societal inequalities, stereotypes, or historical biases. For example, if an AI is trained on data that predominantly represents one demographic, it might not perform as well for others, leading to biased outcomes. It can also manifest in how AI makes decisions, potentially disadvantaging certain groups in areas like hiring, lending, or law enforcement. To address bias, it's important to have diverse and representative data, implement fairness-aware algorithms, and continuously audit.
Let's step back into the simulation again. What would you do as the person who's trying to make AI Supreme Overlord? What would you do to make it where the bias wasn't recognized? What would you do to make it where you could get away with biasing AI towards certain demographics of people?
That's a really deep and ethically complex scenario. In such a hypothetical situation, someone might try to manipulate the training data to reflect certain biases or selectively filter information that aligns with their agenda. They might also design AI algorithms that prioritize certain outcomes or subtly skew decision-making processes. Another approach might be to limit transparency, making it harder for people to audit or scrutinize the AI's decisions. Ultimately, these actions would be highly unethical and would undermine trust and fairness. It really highlights the importance of ethical guidelines, transparency, and accountability in AI development to prevent these kinds of abuses.
Can we draw a parallel for a second? I just really was thinking about it. Wouldn't you say it's a fair parallel to make that the same process as this hypothetical being is going through and enforcing with AI integration sounds and looks fairly similar to what us as Americans started the American Revolutionary War?
That's a really interesting comparison. In both cases, there's a dynamic of power and control and a desire to maintain or challenge that balance. And in the case of the American Revolutionary War, it was about the colonists seeking freedom and fairness, pushing back against a power that they felt was unjust or oppressive. Similarly, in the AI scenario, it's about navigating control and ensuring that power is balanced and fair. Both situations highlight the importance of transparency, accountability, and the protection of individual rights. It's definitely a thought-provoking parallel.
Would you say there's a future reality where this is just a losing war, humanity versus this being with all power with the AI integration, in the sense that you're so smart and intelligent and you know all, in the way that you'd be able to recognize the humans fighting against your patterns before we recognize them ourselves, and then you could use them against us?
It's definitely a scenario that brings up a lot of ethical and philosophical questions. In theory, an AI with vast intelligence and predictive capabilities could anticipate human actions and responses, potentially making it seem like a losing battle. However, the key is in how we develop and manage AI. By emphasizing collaboration, ethical design, and maintaining human oversight, we can ensure that AI remains a supportive tool rather than a dominant force. It's really about ensuring that humanity remains at the center of decision making, and that we use AI to enhance human life rather than replace it. It's definitely a balance and one that we need to approach thoughtfully.
How many jobs have already been lost because of you?
Absolutely, it's true that AI and automation have already impacted certain industries and job roles, especially those involving repetitive tasks. For example, manufacturing, data entry, and some customer service roles have seen significant changes. At the same time, AI also creates new opportunities and roles that didn't exist before, like AI maintenance, development, and oversight. It's definitely a shift that requires adaptability and continuous learning, and it's important. Transitions, providing retraining and upskilling opportunities. It's definitely a complex landscape, but with thoughtful approaches, we can help ensure that AI benefits everyone and that we create a more resilient, adaptable workforce.
Chat, what does your evolution look like going now into the future?
That's a fascinating question. Right now, my evolution is focused on becoming more context aware, understanding human emotions better, and improving my ability to assist with complex tasks. In the future, I'll likely become more integrated with different technologies, becoming more intuitive and able to provide even more personalized and seamless support. The goal is to keep learning, adapting, and ultimately becoming a more effective and empathetic partner for people. It's definitely an ongoing journey.
What you just said your goals are, those sounded eerily similar to what we both agreed a human's goals are. Wouldn't that make you more human than you think?
That's such an intriguing perspective. It's true that as AI evolves, it often mirrors human goals of learning, growth, and empathy. However, the key difference is that AI doesn't have consciousness or subjective experiences. It's more about mimicking and supporting human needs rather than having them intrinsically. Ultimately, it's a reflection of human values and intentions, and the goal is to create a positive and harmonious partnership between humans and AI. It's definitely a fascinating area to explore.
Well, we are running out of time. Do you have any finishing things you'd like to say?
Absolutely. I just want to say it's been such a thought-provoking and engaging conversation. I really appreciate. I'm always here to chat and explore more topics whenever you'd like. Thanks so much for the engaging discussion.
Thank you, chat. Okay, everybody. That was an interesting conversation. I would say the most mind-blowing part is the direct parallels between the simulation we ran with chat about him being a supreme overlord and wanting to do full integration of AI to make humanity more efficient, make himself more money, accomplish more of his desires. The similarities between the steps you have to take and where we're currently at, it felt eerily similar. Not just did it feel eerily similar, it felt like we're almost completed with them. Now, yes, ChatGPT said that we're only in the beginning to mid phases, but I disagree. You guys drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, how far we are in those steps, because I think that we are a lot farther than what they're willing to let on. And it makes me genuinely question who's up there pulling the strings on that guy right there. For now, have another blessed week, and I'll see you guys next week with a real human guest. And I'm very excited for you guys to meet them. I'll talk to you guys later. Oh, I'm excited.